In the first half of the BCE millennium, many peoples inhabit the lands of modern-day Iran. The indigenous Elamites are huddled in dwellings near the northeastern Persian Gulf and are surrounded by two groups with a common ancestry: the Medes to their northwest and the nomadic Persians, who have settled the regions lower along the eastern side of the Persian Gulf and its southern regions. Events are in motion that will give rise to the largest empire the world had yet been witness to. A king by the name of Cambyses rules over the city-state of Anshan in the old Elam Empire lands adjoining the northeast of the present Persian Gulf. Anshan is a vassal city to the Median Empire that stretches from the area north and east of the Persian Gulf into modern-day Turkey. Cambyses' son, Cyrus, or Cyrus, inherited the throne in 551 BCE during the last decade of his father's life. Where his father was content to play the role of subjugated ruler, Cyrus looked to the lands of the Median Empire and beyond with, for now, staid ambition. For now, as his fathers had done before him, he would need to acknowledge the Median overlordship. Upon his father's death, however, Cyrus would begin to act upon that ambition, but the ultimate irony is that the foundation for his empire would be initiated by his enemy's aggression, not his. Ruling the Median Empire was Astyages, a warrior king whose name translated to lance hurler. According to the Nabonidus Chronicles, Astyages launches an attack against Cyrus. He tasks Harpagus, his top general, with leading this attack. However, Harpagus turns double agent and notifies Cyrus of the plan, encouraging him to revolt against Media, and then defects, taking with him several other members of the Median nobility and a large portion of his army. The resulting hostilities and conflict last a full 3 years until the final battle in 550 BCE, which results in the capture of Ecbatana. Cyrus now rules over the Median lands and its vassal states, one of which was ruled by an uncle of his named Arsames, who offers up his throne. However, he would still have a role to play in the leadership of the Achaemenid Empire through his grandson, who would later become Darius the Great. The Lydian king Croesus attacks the Achaemenid city of Pteria in Cappadocia and enslaves its inhabitants. The Persians offer the citizens of Ionia in another part of the Lydian kingdom a chance to revolt against their ruler, but they refuse this gesture. Cyrus then assembles his army and meets Croesus' forces at the mountain town Pteria, which straddles the border river Halys. Croesus fields a smaller army than that of Cyrus, and despite both sides taking almost equal heavy losses, Croesus makes the decision to retreat back over the river Halys. This pushes the front line firmly into his Lydian territory, with Croesus on the defensive and Cyrus in pursuit. On the flanks of both the Lydian and Persian armies are cavalry. They are placed in front of the chariots. Croesus is utilizing his specialized Egyptian phalanx troops. An unnamed Persian officer noted to Cyrus and the leadership that the Lydian horses lacked familiarity with camels, and that it might be possible to panic them at the scent of the animals. Cyrus gave his permission to maneuver some camels from the baggage train in behind the Persian cavalry on their left flank. The Lydian army advances, with its cavalry advancing faster than its slower-moving phalanx at the center of the advance. Cyrus noted the longer line and numerical advantage of Croesus, and that he risked getting outflanked. To counter this, he ordered his center forward and lagged the flanks slightly behind in a refused flank formation. These flanks were formed from his best troops. Croesus, seeing his wings advancing faster than the infantry, calls for them to halt their advance somewhat. However, Dust in the plains, kicked up by both sides' cavalry, has obscured the advancing Persians, and Croesus is unable to see Cyrus holding back his wings, and as a result, he perceives a much smaller box formation, which he hopes to get on to the rear of and encircle. In their haste to charge towards the rear of the Persians, Croesus's cavalry and chariots are then surprised by Cyrus's wings, which now spread out and toward the Lydians. The Persian archers also begin their barrage from both ground and within their fortified battlefield mobile archery towers. Abradatus, the Persian general in charge of the chariots and their deadly scythed wheels, is able to rout the Lydian chariots, but is eventually brought down by the Egyptian spearmen. However, they have managed through this charge to keep the Egyptians out of the fray of the main battle for considerable time. The Lydian horses are, as planned, thrown into confusion upon their approach of the camels that were moved forward. The riders, some panicked, dismount the fleeing horses, but they are rendered useless on foot, wielding their now unbalanced and clumsy riding lances. Soon, they are cut down by the Persian cavalry, and what few survivors there are flee the battlefield. The Persian cavalry, having routed the Lydian cavalry, now wheels inwards and strikes at the Lydian infantry on the wings from the flanks and the rear. Soon, the Lydian flanks are crushed from all sides. Those who survive the onslaught also flee the battlefield. However, Croesus's Egyptian infantry is still moving forward, and their momentum carries them through Cyrus's center of the line. It almost looked as if the Persians would be routed at their center, but they dig in behind and to the side of their archery towers, which cover them with devastating volleys deep into the Lydian ranks. The volleys are so deadly, the Lydian wings begin to crumble and flee. Croesus, on seeing this, also flees the battlefield, leaving his Egyptian infantry to be fully surrounded. However, rather than killing them all, Cyrus, impressed at their courage and tenacity, offers them to join his ranks. They agree to this under the condition they won't have to fight Croesus. Cyrus agrees to this, and they surrender, and Cyrus is victorious. Cyrus returns to his capital and tasks his general Harpagus with annexing the smaller kingdoms of Cilicia, Lycia, and Phoenicia, which line the continental side around the northeast of the island of Cyprus. By the year 540 BCE, Cyrus has captured Elam and its capital Susa. Yet one great power still remains in Western Asia, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. They are led by their general Nabonidus, who meets Cyrus and his general Gobryas at the Tigris riverside city of Opis. The city was considered strategically important as it shored up the northern defensive end barrier of the Median Wall, which protected the ancient city of Babylon. Cyrus and his troops overrun the Babylonians and then continue unabated towards the city of Babylon. The citizens of the town of Sippar that stand between Cyrus and Babylon surrender without incident, and Cyrus the Great marches into Babylon. He proclaims himself King of Babylon, Sumer, and Akkad, as well as King of the Four Corners of the world. In actuality, the Achaemenid Empire stretches from Asia Minor in the west to the Indus River in the east. Cyrus would rule over his Achaemenid Empire for another 20 years until his death. The accounts of how he died vary, but what does not vary are the accounts of his achievements and his legacy, which would endure even as his physical body turned to dust. Modern Iranians refer to him as the Father. Indeed, according to the Greek philosopher Xenophon, born 100 years after Cyrus' death, he said the following: "Those who were subject to him he treated with esteem and regard as if they were his own children,
while his subjects themselves respected Cyrus as their father. What other man but Cyrus, after having overturned an empire, ever died with the title of the father from the very people whom he had brought under his power? For it is plain fact that this is a name for one that bestows, rather than for one that takes away. The Babylonians themselves did not refer to him as conqueror, but instead liberator. He was distinguished as a statesman and as a soldier, and created a stable political structure and foundation for empire that his son would inherit and expand upon.